How consistently can you put on character voices and come back to the same voice multiple times on different days and know that the voice you're doing is going to be exactly the same for that character, and it's not going to sound totally different on a different day? This is the idea of vocal consistency. What on earth is that, Alex? Well, it's my third pillar of character voices. Hello, if you don't know me, by the way, my name is Alex. I am a voice coach and I teach character voices, amongst other aspects of a voice. I don't know what that is. If you're interested in voice, then subscribe to this channel. Do that if you like. Also, send a comment. Ask me a question about character voices, and I might make a wee video about it, you know. Wee, that is a Scottish word for little. Yes, hello. That was Irish, there we go. So, today we are talking about my third pillar of character voices when I teach character voices, and that is consistency. Squishiness. Yes, is it squishy? I don't know. What does it mean to be consistent with character voices? How do we define consistency? Well, within the world of character voices, if you're an improviser or you're a role player or something, basically consistency means, can you go back to the same voice again and again reliably? And is it the same voice each time? Or do you come out and every time you want to do like, I don't know, I was going to say an American accent, and then I've done this one and I don't know what the hell that is. Some sort of mixture of Irish and Northern maybe. So that's not a very consistent voice. But yeah, if you come out all the time, you're like, I have absolutely no idea when I put on a character voice what's going to come out of my mouth. Alex, that's what you do most of the time. Yes, you're absolutely right. But I have got the ability to do consistent voices. I just like playing around with the different ones. Yeah, if you've got consistency, you can go, okay, now we're going to do my Irish accent. Every time it's the same way. This character is always like that. And then you can play around with the voice and have a different Irish one within that. But you have this ability to have like maybe an Irish one or maybe a Scottish one, you know, that these are accents, but like, you know, oh, that's this one. And it will be the same every time, which is useful if you're doing different characters and you're coming back to them in a different scene if you're an improviser, or in a different week if you're doing a role-playing game and you want the same character over the period of, like, I don't know, months. Then you kind of want to have character voices that you can come back to and they'll be the same and you can play around with them, but that is something that is, like, you know, consistency helps because people are like, oh yes, that's that character, not why does your character sound completely different last week than it did this week, if you're doing a podcast, for example. That's what consistency is. What does it look like when you've got a performer or a game player who is really good at consistent voices? Well, it's that. It's they answer that question for you. They do a voice. Hey, it's me, the, I don't know, sexy Spanish, and I am here to eat a pile of cheese. And they're like, ah, yes, that is the same sexy Spanish who was eating sausages in the first round of this improv cage match or something. And consistency is less important than an improv cage match, but you never know. So, like the audience and you in the sidelines, you can go, ah, yeah, that's that character. And you know how to play with it because they're talking in the same voice that they did before. And that's good. And on the inside, you know, as a performer, how it feels is you're like, I'm going to take this voice and I'm going to use this voice, and I know what this voice can do. I know the big version of this voice, and I know the little crazy version of this voice, and I know what this voice does when it's really, really angry, and things like that. So you can, like, you have this ability, this range. The character is big and is 3D, but you can come back to it every time. That's what it feels like. You feel confident because you're like, I know I can do this voice. As opposed to sometimes when I do voices where I'm like, is this an Irish accent or is there something else? It is. There we go. So we're going to talk here now about drift. What on earth is drift? Drift is something that happens very often within the world of improv comedy. And it does happen in acting as well. You'll maybe get told off if your accent drifts as an actor, specifically in film or something, because the director will be like, your accent is totally different from this scene than it is from this scene. That is not allowed. Indeed, it's annoying. So you really need to be consistent if you're an actor. But drift in improv happens because we don't really know sometimes what character we're going to be putting out there. And maybe we're going to talk in a, I don't know, is that a, I think of this as my North American podcaster voice. Hello, today on 3 pillars of society, we are talking, and so maybe I come out in this scene with this one, but then when I'm thinking about things in the scene, because this is really quite close to Irish, so maybe I turn into an Irish accent later on in the scene. And drift is when you start with one voice, which sounds clear, and then it moves, or it goes back to your like original voice, your resting habitual voice, because you're kind of like, oh yeah, you're too much thinking about what's going on in the scene, and you're like, oh my god. And that, I mean, that is often a reason why drift happens. There's a couple of reasons. The first reason is that you've got too much going on in your head. And this is something that people say to me sometimes. You're thinking too much, Alex. Stop thinking. Yes. Am I thinking in this video? Clearly not. It's just a load of nonsense, actually. No, it is not. It is clear and defined. Sure. The more stuff you got going on in your brain, the less you can like focus on what's going on in the vocal mechanism, and therefore sometimes it's difficult to stay consistent with the voice. But the other reason that drift happens is because you don't really know your voices very well. So as I say, I have this North American, like a New York podcaster voice, and see, that went into Irish there, I know this voice quite well, but it's a particular style of voice, and if I talk in a different way, this is totally Irish, it's not working. So exactly, that's a good example. Like, if I'm on a particular track with that voice, if I'm like, today on Cooking for Life, we can do this, then I can, that voice will be there. If I try and do different things with that particular voice, I find it difficult because I don't know what the limits of that podcaster voice is. It's just a stupid impression I did, and I've sort of stuck with that. So drift can happen because you only know a voice in like one way of speaking, and then a scene or a script or whatever, or a bit of a game takes you out of that like bit that you know, that style of talking that character can do, and suddenly you're like, I do not know I do not know where the corners of this voice can go. That was one of my Scottish ones. I'm from Scotland, though you can't tell from my habitual accent. So I can kind of play around with Scottish accents better than I can play around with, my American podcaster voice. So that's drift, and it's totally normal. It's nothing to be worried about particularly. But as you learn more about your voice and learn how to become more consistent, you can start to go, okay, that's drift. What's going on there is drift. And then you can start to debug it. You can start to go, like I just did there with that accent, started on one accent. I was like, oh, that vowel just came out Irish, and that wasn't right for that voice. And then you can start to sort of learn how to expand that voice and be more consistent by knowing it better. What does it look like when someone is inconsistent with their voice? And what does it feel like when you have it? So what it looks like from the outside, if you're an audience or if you're another game player in a role-playing game, is just someone, the other person, the audience, the performer, is trying voices, and you're like, cool, they're trying a voice, and you're like, look, they've lost their voice, and it just happens all the time. And it can be funny. It can be funny in a scene if you're like, come out with a big voice, and then later on you're like, oh, hang on a second, I'm talking like this again. The audience will laugh because they recognised it for you. But it will look like just sort of an inconsistency. It will look like, oh well, that person's not really very good at voices actually, and you might be really good at voices. It's just that you're not very consistent with your voices, but you're good at coming up with voices, for example. And what it feels like on the inside is that it can also be kind of like, oh God, I keep trying voices and I'm like, and they just disappear, and I don't know how to keep them. It can be really kind of, you can hit your confidence a little bit when you're like, oh, I'm just not going to try voices because every time I try a voice, it goes away, and I don't know how to stop that. And thankfully, there is a solution. So how do you get better at voice consistency? There are various ways. One way, and indeed the first thing for a lot of voice, is to know where you are right now. So how consistent are you with your voices? Like, how consistent are the voices that you can already do? If you've got like 3 or 5 different distinct character voices that you can do, how well can you come back to them every time and know that they're the same? And if you don't know right now what your level of consistency is, I have created a scorecard. Yes, you can fill it out. It's free. You can go to the link. It's in the description. It will tell you. It will tell you. It will ask you, and then it will tell you. It will ask you 20 like really simple, mostly net yes or no questions about consistency, but also about the other pillars of character voice like range and control. And it will give you a free report actually, which will tell you how good you are with consistency, how good you are with all those other pillars, and also what you can do to improve your character voices. So do that. That's one thing you can do to improve your consistency. But also, I didn't say that word very clearly, did I? Consistency. And another thing you can do is start to, like, very deliberately come back to the same voices each time. And one of the various different techniques that I use for this is anchoring. So you want to anchor your character voice to something. Could be a lot of different things. Could be a word, could be a phrase, could be a bit of the body, could be a way of holding your vocal mechanism or your face. It could be a mood, like whatever it is. There's a big ton of them that I teach, but one of them, for example, is a word or a phrase. So you might say, "Oh no," you know, this might be the one. It's just characters, just like, "Oh no." It's got all this it's like painting. Kind of got this picture of like painting a big thing. Oh, that character, they talk like that, and every time they say, "Oh no," I get back into that character voice, and therefore I can access it. So finding like key things that you can anchor that voice to, so that you can always come back to it, then you can start to learn how that character voice drifts, and therefore how to get back to it. So that's consistency. Fill out the scorecard. I would say that's a good thing to do. Oh no, didn't quite like that one. Totally new voice that was. Oh no. Oh no, that was more northern than it was, but it was Scottish before. Anyway, so many things go on in my head. That is it for the day. Consistency, third pillar of character voices, and I hope you have a very consistent day. Absolutely the same from morning till night. No changes at all. Good.